Welcome to News with a View, a Fat Cat production, hosted by me, John A. Costa. Today is July 31st, 2025. It is in the evening, 10 p.m. straight up. We are going live, so it's being recorded into live and also being recorded so I can edit it just a little bit today and get it out the door as quick as possible. It's been 6 days since I've done my last show. I've been just so busy that I couldn't concentrate on doing this show. I was working outside at 112 degrees, and by the time I was done working outside and doing things that I should not have been doing, I was just too tired. Not too tired to go out for dinner or something like that, but too tired to do the research that I do for the show. I was tired, just couldn't do it. So I took 6 days, actually it's 5, because I did one on the 25th, and today's, so I owed the 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th, and I'm doing it today, so 5 days. Not 6, but 5. Some feedback on, again, one of my shows. Yeah, you can have your opinions. They're meaningless to me. Not really, I do. I appreciate anything that is said about the show. Good or bad, you are allowed your opinion, no matter how wrong it is. All right. So, as I said, this is episode 112. I'm your host, John A. Costa. If you haven't joined us before, it's a conservative leaning show, but I do take the facts in, and I do report when I see things from both sides that I call shenanigans. Mostly in the print media. It's just very important that when you read these stories that you take in on where it's coming from. The facts might be there, but after the facts, it can skew left, it can skew right, and take you to places, that had nothing to do with just the facts. Just report the facts. I wish they just did that. Report the facts. Make your own decision. All right. Normally I give a breakdown of everything I'm going to do. I'm not doing that tonight. I will put a breakdown on the edited show, that I always do in that little space up over here. All right. Let's talk about Councilwoman Victoria Parks. Cincinnati, Ohio council member is standing by her remarks of the about a viral brawl involving a white couple dispute that they had with some black people, and the councilman said, Victoria Parks said, they begged for that beatdown. I'm grateful for the whole story. Councilwoman Victoria Parks commented on a video on the violent incident posted on Facebook. So this councilwoman said that she's glad and happy that they got this beatdown. A white man and a white woman. And the white man probably started it from what I could see, but the beatdown then took on a crowd, as usual suspects, and they beat and kicked the person. Then a woman who tried to help the man who was being beaten was also beaten by the crowd. The vice president called the people doing the beating lawless thugs. So, you know how that goes. I'm going to go switch into here. That goes always into what I call uncharted territory. Uh, because the vice president can make comments like that. I say, let the people that handle those type of things, the police, take care of it. Now, for the councilman, I would definitely say that anyone in politics could say, hey, what are you saying? No one deserves a beatdown. No one deserved to be talked to in a disrespectful manner. I don't know what transpired there, what was said at this jazz festival, but no one deserved to be kicked in the face and stomped by a crowd. Sorry. Wrong. And this council member who said they begged for that beatdown, and I'm grateful for the whole story. What a stupid person. What a stupid, stupid person. And this is your typical rhetoric coming from a lot of stupid people out there who think violence is the answer, that playing a race card is the answer, and just disobeying the law is the answer. And those people now should be voted out of office. One, she should resign right now. Now, she said she's not going to run for office again, so she doesn't care. It's the fact that she doesn't care that she then saddles the other people in her party to either have to defend what she said or step out of line and go, yeah, what she said, but that's not me. I didn't say that. I don't believe in that. This is what I think should happen. But now she forced people to go on the record where this was a police incident. Let the police and the courts handle it. Yes, you could say, hey, any violence is wrong and just leave it at that. The problem I have, again, when these people, they step out in authority and she's just saying, hey, good, that's the way to answer a problem. Give them a beatdown. They deserved it. And I know there's people out there who say, well, they did deserve it. You want to have street justice? Good luck to you. You're not going to like how that ends. I'm going to tell you right now. Just so you know, we're having really bad thunderstorms here. So if I lose the live feed, I apologize. Not much I can do about that. If we take a power hit here, I will edit into it and pick up where it throws me out. Now, the Cincinnati mayor, Aftab Pervel, they said has been missing in action for days after the brutal beatdown went viral on social media. Now he's, of course, the mayor of Cincinnati. And I think isn't that where Pete Buttigieg, wasn't he that? Yeah, okay. But he was out of town on a vacation. So, I mean, come on. Did he call in? I don't know if they called in. I didn't see that in the story that was reported. And this was in all the newspapers. So I did not attribute this to one particular news reporting agencies. But see, when you see that, I almost look at these type of things as click and baits. But what she said was the facts here. She said she was unbothered by and unrepentant amid the public outrage involving black suspects whom Vice President J.D. Vance called lawless thugs. She didn't care, she said it. And so what she is really doing is validating that attack as being justified. Now, if you want to validate it, go ahead. Be careful. Be careful. The police chief or the police union said, got to vote all these people out. And that's fine. Vote them out. And come 2026, or whenever these people are up for election, the red money's going to be flowing. And you can put in the newspapers and you could say, your Carvels who are, who Carvel who's saying, no, the Democrats are going to take a massive win or whatever. Ain't going to happen, folks. Not as of today. I don't know what happens tomorrow. But as of today, I'm going to say you guys are taking a bath. And I'm predicting the governor of New York is going to be Republican next time around. Yep, Bob, Republican. And that's Bob in New York, who I love. All right. The second thing that I talk about, a record number of senators, Democratic senators, vote to block weapons sales for Israel. And this comes from The Hill. Kind of a right-leaning, but some of this stuff I don't agree with. And that's just the way I am. That's what I'm going to do. So more than half the caucuses voted in favor of 2 resolutions to block U.S. military sales to Israel on Wednesday night. While the resolution ultimately failed, the vote demonstrated how Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has fractured historical bipartisanism in Congress over the humanitarian crisis in Gaza Strip and Israelis' war against Hamas. No, see, this is where they get this wrong. It's not the Israelis' war against Hamas. It's Hamas's war against Israel. Hamas declared war on Israel, attacked Israel, and took hostages. And these Democrats just won't admit that you take hostages. Bad things are going to happen to you or to your people. During war, we firebombed cities. Was it right? Was it wrong? Sure, later on you could say, oh yeah, that was a horrible thing to do. What do you think Germany would have done in New York City? So you people that are out there screaming, yelling, all this nonsense. And Democrats, you're the biggest freaking phonies there are right now. You're a laughing stock. The grumbling that you're doing is so ridiculous that even some of the fringe Democrats, not moderates are moderates, are saying you're out of your mind. You're out of your mind. So the resolution sponsored by Senator Bernie Sanders failed in the face of all Republicans voting against the measure, including 20 Democrats who said, yeah, we're not signing on this. So Bernie, like Hamas, goes down in flames. And I like Bernie. I do like Bernie because he is truthful. He believes, and he'll stand by what he says. And, he was very open. He said, how are you going to pay for all these things that you wanted during his election campaign? He goes, I'm going to raise taxes. Where do you think this money's going to come from? He was truthful. That's exactly where you're going to get that money from. Can't fault the guy. I could fault his politics a lot, but he was being truthful. He is what he is. He's a communist. He's not an independent. He's a communist. Warren is out of her mind. A lot of these blue states, you're in for a surprise. You are in for a surprise. Because if it's not going to be a Republican who takes your seat, it will be a moderate Democrat who will go, yeah, this nonsense has to stop. And you're going to lose your party's grip because you didn't recognize what was happening around you. Well, actually, you did recognize. You didn't care. Those 5% of the people that you were representing and 5% of the other people that you were representing were getting you cash. We'll protest in front of Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola goes, stop, here's a contribution. We'll do it in front of this company. We'll do it in front of this company, headquarters, and their stores. Hire a protester. And you shook them down. And that's what's going to come out. You shook them down. We haven't even started yet with the 2026, what is on the agenda. Haven't even started yet. The facts, the proof, it's coming out little by little. Democrats want to scream, oh, Epstein. Well, why didn't Biden release this information about Epstein? Why didn't Biden's DOJ, as they always say, or Trump's DOJ, or whatever president is sitting there, DOJ? Why didn't he put it out there? Why didn't Obama put stuff out there that he knew was going on? Because he knew that would jam everyone up. It's going to jam up Democrats. It's going to jam up Republicans. And I'm sure on that list that didn't exist for Epstein, a lot of big, heavy contributors on both sides. So, all right. Another failure for the Democrats. You think they'd be getting used to it, but they're not. All right. In a story from Fox News, Soros, George Soros, alleged ties to Russiagate exposed in declassified annex of the Durham report. Now, I have a problem with this Fox article because it's the credible foreign sources indicating the FBI and the Obama administration would play a role in spreading this salulous Trump-Russia narrative before the Bureau ever launched its probe, were allegedly tied to George Soros's Open Society Foundation, according to an explosive document declassified Thursday morning. Now, a credible foreign source. Now, I know you don't have to name it, but whenever I see that, whenever I see unnamed sources not, permitted to speak, yeah, light bulb goes off. It's like, I don't know, who told you this? Some guy in a bar? Me? Who? Now, they're saying that the appendix to former special counsel John Durham's report released by the Senate Judiciary Committee sheds stunning light on what Chairman Chuck Grassley describes as one of the biggest political scandals and cover-ups in American history. Yeah, I would agree with that assessment that not only the Biden administration but the Obama administration worked hand in hand with one another and the FBI to try to spin the narrative that somehow Trump was involved with this. Even though they had no proof, they had nothing, they leaked it out. They had their sources give that information. That came right from the White House. Now, dirty tricks, you say, hey, that's fair game. And really, it is fair game. But here, what they were going to do, and you saw them ramp it up, when Trump tried to run again, they used that, they say, insurrection, traitor. None of it was true. Yet, because the Obama administration planted those seeds and fertilized it and watered it, they wanted to make sure it took roots. And this is being proved. Former director John Bannon, he's got to be, he must be in a panic. Comey, all these guys have to be in a absolute panic. They know where this is heading. They know where this is heading. Now, you could say that, President Trump made former President Biden and Obama bulletproof by saying that, his duties as president protects him. His duties was not to try to railroad a citizen into a charge of treason and insurrection. So I think Obama and a lot of these people who think that they're going to be above a certain hit, eventually they're going to end up on a witness stand. And I don't think, even with the people that have pardons, that you can exercise your Fifth Amendment right. Because you're pardoned. There is no, you have no worry about self-incrimination. Can't happen. So for some of these people, it might be hard for them to press to say, well, I'm going to exercise my Fifth Amendment right. You might not have it. You accepted that pardon, that might go away. And with the Supreme Court that we have right now, I'd be worried about that. I would be worried about that. So, CIA Director John Ratcliffe, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, FBI Director Kash Patel, and Attorney General Pam Bondi worked in coordination to declassify the information. Yeah, they work. At the end of the day, the president can just go, give me those papers. I don't care what you say, you say, you say, you say. Boom, declassified. I want to see this on the news tonight. Get it out the door. He can do that. But what he wanted to do, I think, here is to have everyone's fingerprints on it to go, this is not just me saying it. This is everyone saying it. And you're reading the reports. They haven't been doctored. They could scream. The Democrats will scream up and down, the doctored reports. It's not going to protect them. Not going to protect them. So before the official release, sources exclusively briefed Fox News Digital on some of the contents of the appendix, including that U.S. intelligence community had credible foreign sources indicating that the FBI would play a role in spreading the salacious Trump-Russian collusion narrative before the Bureau even launched its controversial Crossfire Hurricane probe. So, Again, you know, do you believe the report as, being a foreign intelligence service? Now, I would say that if there was a foreign intelligence service, it was MI6, who said, can't believe a word. This is paid for. We have the information. We know the guy. We know where this report came from. And their worst nightmare for Obama, not for Biden, for Obama, was Trump winning his second non-consecutive term. Now, Kash Patel saying that they found documents in a burn room. Now, in bags and stuff that was not destroyed. People held them back. I'm not going to say that couldn't happen, but I know if I was running a scam like that, and I told underlings, hey, you burn those papers. Get rid of them. I might want to be there when it happens. Because what apparently has happened, some of these guys go, yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm going to tell them, yeah, done, gone. Now, where is this room that they have that no one looked in? No one said, hey, those burn bags have been sitting there for, 8 months, 10 years, 6 years, 5, how many rooms do they have? So the question can be asked. You say you found these documents in a burn bag? How? Unless someone had it somewhere and they go, you might want to look at this. Or you might want to speak to Joe. I think that the truth will come out with this. I think Obama and his henchmen, and I always call them Obama and his goons, they're in a lot of trouble. Now, whether or not you hear this stuff that, Obama wanted a third term through Hillary Clinton. I'm sorry, Hillary Clinton would not do that. She was going to be the first female president, and she was going to be her own president. And I don't think she would have let Obama anywhere near any of her major decision making. Those were going to be hers. So when I hear that Obama wanted a third term through blah blah, no. Did he get a third term through Biden? Yes, that I believe. And I think that will all come out on, there's no way Biden in the last at least 2.5 years of his presidency was, they would do a shutdown at 11:30 in the morning. No more. That's it. He's done. I mean, this went on and on and on. Biden was just a prop. He was just a puppet. And, he collected his money. We're going to let your son slide over here. We're going to do this over here. We're going to, you just keep doing what we tell you to do. You'll be fine, Joe. And I think that started to disappear when he started to go, and I'm going to run for a second term. And they go, well, that wasn't the deal, Joe. And he turned around and goes, yeah, you know what? Fuck you and your deal. I'm the president. I'm going to tell you what to do. And they're like, well, we can't pull him out now. It would show that, we have no faith in him. He won't die. Had COVID 19 times. So they were stuck. They were in a bad spot. They should have held that debate way, way before. They might have stood a chance of getting someone other than, Kamala. Now, Kamala, of course, backed out of running, or at least she said she's backed out of the running for governor of California. For whatever reasons she stated, because she had no support. No one was going to give her money to run. Honestly believe she's going to run in 2028. I hope she tries. So we could hear from Mayor Pete. And they could go at one another. And let Mayor Pete try to outwit J.D. Vance. That would be a joke. That would be a joke. So we know that that's not going to happen. All right, we got 32 minutes into the show. Justice Kavanaugh defends Supreme Court's terse emergency docket orders, and this is from CNN. On Thursday, he defended the way the Supreme Court is handling the flood of emergency cases that had reached its dockets during President Trump's administration. Now, the president has won the majority of his requests through the Supreme Court for one solid reason. The Constitution. He always had the power. Always had the power. And the Democrats, instead of just letting him do it and win or fail, they fought him. So now that those powers are guaranteed, well, they're every president's going to have it. And believe me, the Republicans will not be happy when it's their turn on the other side. The old thing, be careful what you wish for. So he pushed back on the mounting criticism that the court is often resolving those disputes with little or no explanation. Supreme Court does not need to explain itself. You might not like it. You might not like it. They don't have to explain because they don't make the law. Read what the Constitution allows and then read the law. Does it violate the Constitution? No? Then that's the law. There's your explanation. But it says, no, there are no buts. The robes look at the law, how it's being applied, and how it applies back to the Constitution and its intent. That's it. That's it. There's no magical. They don't sit there. They're constitutionalists. They have to be. Now, you could have your liberal justices who said, well, the people want, hey, I'm sure 65% of the people out there would go, yeah, slavery, sure, why not? Yeah, so, yeah, you don't listen to the people, you listen to the Constitution. That is we the people. You don't like it? There's ways to change it. There's ways to make new amendments. So when you hear this, you know, that they feel they need to justify what they do, I'd say sometimes it would be nice. What was your logic behind it? But I'd say 95% of the times, the logic is right there, folks. The logic is right there. And most of these rulings were involve policies pursued by the president in emergency cases. You're allowed, as the president, as the chief executive officer, to go, hey, stop what you're doing and give me an answer. Because they're stopping me from doing it. And they go and override any other judge because they're the highest ones in the land. And Trump has won some and he's lost some. But the majority of the ones that were pressed was stuff that the Democrats knew he would win. And they did that as a stalling. If you jam him up, if you jam him up, if you jam him up. And Trump knows this from his first time. Where he goes, I tried to play with you guys. I tried to do this. And you guys just screwed me. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to jam it down you. And I mean, Schumer, just stop talking. Just stop talking. And you should be grabbing Schiff and telling him, hey, I'm the minority leader here, not you. And you have Schiff saying stuff that he should not be saying. If Schumer wants to come out and speak for the minority Senate, that's fine. You got Schiff coming out there now, doing what he does, the censured liar. Remember, he was censured for lying. Liar. And he's doing it again. So, and we're going to talk about that too. So, what Kavanaugh said, he goes, I know you think that, you know, we're just passing things here. We're not. Some of these things, the president can do it. The law goes back to, 1789. 93. I mean, yeah, it could be done. But these people run around. They have, some of these people that have college, well, I'm sorry. Some of these people that have a JD license, they don't fully get constitutional law. Constitutional law, I mean, is probably one of the most boring things that you could do as a lawyer. Because the amount of research that needs to go into it, you need 7 people doing the research. Then you got to look at their research to make sure their research was right. Show me how you came to this conclusion. Show me the things. That it's so overwhelming. And you have to find cases, and you have to have the words, you have to have the intent. It's hard to do. It's hard to do. And so a lot of the things that President Trump has been asking for, he could have always done it and did it. He goes, I'm doing it. You challenge me now? Now I'm going to get the answer. You're not going to like the answer because that answer then goes to the next one and the next one and the next one. And at the end of the day, when they go, he has the authority under the executive branch, then it's hard to question him on anything else that he's doing inside the executive branch, you moron Democrats. You're feeding the monster. Instead of letting him do stuff, and if he wins, he wins. But if he fails, then you can come in for the feeding frenzy. But you are so afraid that Trump will succeed and you'll never regain power again for 12 years. Or even have the ability to come back in 12 years. You guys in a room filling with water that has a ceiling. And you're getting close to the top there, and I told you what you need to do. You need to work with the president. And if he won't do it, he'll just go ahead and he'll go, you know what? You're going to stop me anyway here? I got a 50-50 chance of winning this. And when I win this one, that means I win the other ones too, because it's precedent. I could, if I could do this in this administrative office, I could do it in the next one that I administer. That's inside my executive branch. And you guys are so blinded that you don't see it. Or you won't recognize it. You're looking at the light at the end of the tunnel and go, look, there's light at the end of the tunnel, not realizing it's a train coming at you. Till it's too late. All right. Now this is something that came over Vox, VOX. It's an article on Vox. And it's about the Senate using what's called the blue strip. It's not a law. It's not even a procedure. And what that is, and it's one of the most abused practices in the United States Senate. What that is let's say the president or the attorney general turns around and says, I'm going to appoint or this person as a judge. Let's say, and we'll take what's going on in New Jersey, where the Senate tradition, it's a tradition, but it's not law and it's not a procedure. It prevents a president from installing their choices for judicial and prosecutorial jobs in, well, it's saying, in this article, it says, in the blue states of California, New York, New Jersey, Illinois, Virginia, and other places. I mean, well, what are you talking about? Other places. All 50 states, morons. Vox, you're already on my list as being moron. So, and it went on. Given Habab's, and this is the, was the designated attorney general temp, because they can only appoint for 120 days. Then it has to go to the Senate. It has to go through there. But the Senate can turn around and go, blue slip them. Nope, we don't like them. Because in this case, it was likely that Trump would install loyalists as prosecutors who would target Democrats within those states. Well, number one, just saying targeting is not targeting. But if there's proof of wrongdoing by any person in government or anywhere else, and it merits investigation, meaning that, you know, hey, I think this guy is a bad guy. Well, that's not good enough. That's not good enough. Just because you think it, or I feel because of some of the actions that they've taken, we're going to go against this person. See, that's retribution on a political thing, and no, no bueno. Both sides should not do that. But by blue slipping, you could prevent a president from putting people in those positions. And these are the lowest of the federal judges. Really, it really is. It's, you think it's, the highest. No, it's the lowest. But they do yield a lot of power. They can start investigations. They can prosecute. And in New Jersey, they didn't want Habab there because she was going after people. And when I say going after, she had evidence that could go to a grand jury and they could go, well, let's see what else they have. Now, again, I say this about grand juries. They can be swayed. They can be swayed. And again, that's why the whole idea of grand jury testimony is so secret and so guarded, because it is so subjective. That's when you hear people like a lawyer, and you hear it on these TV shows, that I can indict a ham sandwich to a grand jury, because the person being accused there has no representation. It's all one-sided. Very rare, unless you know ahead of time you're going to be indicted by a grand jury. We're going to present this to a grand jury. Do you even have a chance to say anything? And when you do, you can't be represented by an attorney. Attorney can't be there to say, I object, or something. There is none. And then you have special grand juries that go beyond scopes of what we would call a normal, or what would be called a normal grand jury. So when I see that, California, New York, New Jersey, Illinois, Virginia, and other places, they're talking about blue states. But there have been plenty of politicians who've been charged by a Republican against a Republican, a Democrat against a Democrat. So to say that you're going to put someone in there who would target, no. I just say that if you're going to go after someone, you better have good grounds to go after them and not destroy their lives because of a political situation. If you got the proof and you really have, this guy was seen with this person who is trying to get a favor from that person, and all of a sudden they meet, and he buys a $500,000 house on a $100,000 a year salary, and he pays all cash. Yeah, that might be interesting. We might need to look at that. But if you just say, hey, this guy, he goes to work every day, he does this, he walks out, we don't see anyone with him that we would say, would make it interesting. Yeah, they can't go after that guy. And they shouldn't. They shouldn't go after those people. So, in this article, they said, before Trump's rise to power, there was no rise to power. He was elected. So, Vox, again, you suck. And However, the blue slip was often abused by senators seeking partisan control of the judiciary. For the most of the Obama presidents, for example, then Senate Judiciary Chair Patrick Leahy, Democrat Vermont, didn't just give home state senators a veto over the district judges and attorney. He also permitted them to veto more powerful appellate judges who typically hear cases arising out of more than one state. So there is a certain amount of decorum in the Senate that allows this to take place. But now the president is calling it out and going, I want this to stop. It's not allowed. Show me the procedural. Show me where you can do that. Oh, you can't? Then it ends. You want to make it that you can do that? Then you go through and you know what you have to do to make that happen. But in the meantime, no. You can't blue slip. And I think that that is a very wise thing. And it's dangerous in one respect, but it's our system. It's our system. And if you want to change that, by all means, go ahead and change it. Go through the procedurals. Go through the hearings. Go through whatever you need to do it. But it has to be, you just can't say, this person gets, no, I don't like this person. He might be bad for us. And I think the president's correct in his approach to this to say, bad. And that goes for any president. And like I said, there is no upper limit to executive power. Sky's the limit. Of course, within this framework of laws. Can the president order an American citizen be killed? Yeah, he can do that. He can do that. Do you know who did that? And for absolutely 100% justifiable reasons. President Obama had an American citizen murdered. Can he be held responsible? Or can he be tried for murder after he leaves office? The answer is no, he cannot. Because it was an official act of his office. So, when you talk about executive power under the Constitution, there are no limits. What Trump is doing is defining the president's role like no other president has ever done in our lifetime. So, bravo to you, Mr. President. There's some things that I like you doing. There's some things I don't like you doing. But in this case, you be right. All right. Skydance tells senators it wasn't involved in the Colbert's Late Show cancellation. Everything was fully complied with anti-bribery laws in the Paramount deal, and that comes from Variety. Sundance Media had responded to the requests of, and they put it, 3 left-wing U.S. senators. How about 3 U.S. senators? Because there is no left-wing or right-wing or anything. I know I say it, left-leaning, right-leaning. I get that. but for 3 left-wing U.S. senators. All right. Who expressed concerns about bribery with respect to the Trump administration's approval of a deal to acquire Paramount Global. I had a major problem that they could sit there, that these 3 senators could call them out and go, it looks like bribery to me. That they can do that. Because I see what they're doing as extortion. All right. And I have a question whether Skydance had any part in the cancellation of The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. Who cares? Where does that even come into a senator's privy? Why would that be a question that they would need to get an official answer from? And they'll go, well, the FCC is a government agency. The FCC doesn't say you must hire a right-wing host or a left-wing host, a Republican-leaning or a Democrat-leaning. FCC doesn't say that. So you don't get a choice to say who they are allowed to have to do a show. Because when I hear that, that goes against democracy and that goes against free enterprise. It goes against capitalism. And for them to say, no, you can only hire this person or you can't fire that person because they're right-leaning or they're left-leaning, that's a pure money situation. If a company is comfortable losing $40 million a year, the only people they need to answer to in this case would be the shareholders. So other than, them coming in and saying, why you get rid of this guy? Why was Dan Rather let go? Was there a Senate complaint about that? Did they want to know why he left? Or what was the decision? Not a peep. And this is why I say the Democrats, you are so full of bull crap that America sees it. And you guys still think that you could play that card, that you could put that crap on a plate and feed it to the people. Some of the people. You had a protest, don't fire, Colbert. 20 people showed up. New York City, 20 people. Between this and Epstein, you're not saying how Trump is making deals. Remember how the tariffs were going to bankrupt us? That's it. We're dead. We're all gone. The stock market will never recover. Right? Remember that? Remember the Democrats telling us that Trump would be in jail? We got the proof. America is tired of your bullcrap. You guys are going to lose 2026 like it's never been lost before. That a political party could go from here to the basement in the amount of time that you guys did. Yet you will have managed to do that. Unbelievable. So, in a letter sent into the response to Senator Stephanie Kyoko McKinnon, and that's the counsel for Skydance, general counsel, so, and co-president of the business operation, said in part, throughout the history and during the review of the proposed acquisition of Paramount, Skydance has fully complied with all applicable laws, including our nation's anti-bribery laws. Okay. So now she's calling out these senators. And be careful, because if you sit there and scream now that this was a bribe, well, you have counsel saying no. And if these senators want to keep going down this path, they're going to find themselves in a hurt load of trouble. Because they're lying. Not because they're exposing the truth. But they're lying. Skydance was not involved in the CBS decision to cancel The Late Show, according to the letter. Paramount did provide notice of its decision to Skydance about the show being canceled. They're saying, hey, oh, by the way, guys, we're canceling Colbert. We're not going to renew his contract. And we gave him notice. Now, just so you know, just because they gave notice, Skydance, if they, and now the approval process has happened. The FCC said, go ahead, you guys can merge, but work it all out. We still got to look at it, but as of right now, you're good to go. You complied with everything that we needed to look at, and we're ready to go. This stuff was already on the table during the Biden administration. Nothing much has changed, except they start going in now. And part of the process that Skydance wants is any outstanding litigation, any type of suits, you settle, and usually they put a dollar limit. That you don't have to inform us of anything, anything over $50 million. Yeah, you got to tell us. So if you want to make a settlement with this party for $2 million, you don't have to tell us that. That's not going to affect anything. But it did say Paramount did tell them they were canceling the show. So now Skydance, when they take over, can go in and go, hey, Steve, I know what Paramount did to you. You're losing $40 million. All right. How about, you go down to 2 days a week. You do your show. And you do it a little bit differently. We're not flying people in all over the world. We're not paying for hotels. We're not doing this. We're not doing that. Maybe we can get that nut down to $22 million a year. And maybe you have a good show and you've got audience back and, who knows? But we're not paying you what you were being paid. Now, those guys that are working over there, some of those are per diem, some of them are what we used to call casuals, meaning that they were hired just for that show, and that was it. So when the show goes bye-bye, they go bye-bye. And I think there's very little staff there, except maybe for the maintenance of the computer equipment and broadcast equipment that CBS owns, and that falls under the privy of the respected contracts held by the unions there. So, they could keep that studio dark 3 days a week and save money. Actually, it would be 5 days a week, and if we only let them do 2 shows a week, Now, is that even profitable? Don't know. Don't know. And probably a lot had to do with the streaming media with Colbert. He just didn't command the money that a lot of these other people did in their streaming money back to the parent company. Wasn't there. But I would probably venture to say that in his career at CBS, he probably made him a hell of a lot more money than he has lost them money. But in television, you are only as good as your last show. Everything else is gone. So they're saying they did not have anything to do with it. And they said under the Paramount had full discretion to settle outstanding litigations unrelated to the transaction, meaning unrelated to the sale of the company. So meaning that they couldn't say, yeah, you know what, we'll give you $20 million, but Skydance is going to give you that money as soon as they take over. They couldn't do that. This had to be settled out of their wallet. And there was a dollar limit, and it was $50 million. And that's what most of them do because, some of this stuff, there's suits by employees, there's suits by other companies. And with Skydance goes, we want them cleared off. We want them settled. Some of these can't be settled and will go and, they're like legacy cases. They just go on and on and on. So Paramount requested Skydance's consent to only one particular term relating to the publication of transcripts of interviews of presidential candidates. Skydance did not believe its consent was required, but acceded to Paramount's request and provided it, meaning that because this was going to now go further, Paramount agreed to this, and I'll disagree with the attorney here, where Skydance did not believe its consent was required. Yeah, it does, because it goes back up to unrelated to the transaction. Yeah, it is related because you're going to have to live with that now, Skydance. So I didn't believe that part. But it sounds good. As with any transaction that requires regulatory approval, Skydance executives and its representatives have had routine and customary interactions with government officials, and of course we look forward to our great association in the coming months and years ahead of us. That's standard template. We're your friends. We're your friends. So Skydance went on record now against these three left-wing senators who suggested that bribery might be afoot. I might call out these senators and say you had no justification for doing that. You try to slander two companies, a news media outfit. Maybe that needs to be looked into. What was your ultimate goal? To see if there was bribery? There's other ways to do it than coming out and saying it looks like a bribe. Because the other one, it looked like extortion. What were you trying to get from these companies? What were you trying to do? And seek the truth? You didn't need to seek the truth with it. That's a financial decision of a company that's publicly held. It has shareholders, has to answer to. That show doesn't fall under the privy of the government other than it must follow the rules and regulations of the FCC compliances. That's it. That's it. And Warren and her little gang, morons. And you Democrats run to the and go, oh, give us more to eat. You're so stupid. Foolishly stupid. Lemmings. Wake up. And I know, Bob, you're going to say, hey, you say you call people, you're insulting them. You do it every day, Bob. You do it every day. You call people Nazis. So, please, don't lecture me on that. The idea of it's a bribe, go to the Department of Justice, file a complaint. File a complaint. All right. Good old Shifty. And I was talking about this before. Shifty decries Imal Bov's confirmation as corruption. Another Democrat screaming, because we didn't get our way, it has to be corrupt. Despite the Department of Justice referral into his own mortgage dealings. Well, one has nothing to do with the other. Number one, and this comes from Fox News. One doesn't take precedent. It's not a, let's put the pluses and minuses and over here and do that. His dispute with his referral to the Department of Justice over his mortgage application. And remember, it's just a referral. Just a referral. And see, that's the problem. And that's why I said people get defamed. Yeah, how long have you been beating your wife? What are you talking about? Well, I'm asking you. Well, why? Who said I beat my wife? And that's what happens. And it really is wrong. Now, Democrats have no problems with that. Republicans have no problems with it. Fat Cat has a problem with that. But here you have Schiff saying corruption. Now, corruption implies that there's something wrong with the product or procedure. If you are in computer and the file is corrupt, it will not work. Syntax error. But here you have Schiff, a senator, who has been censured for lying, comes out and says corruption. That's a big word to use for a senator. Mostly him. And it should not be said by him, if it's going to be said. It should be said by Schumer, who is the majority leader, a minority leader for the Democrats in the Senate. That he speaks for the minority. Not Schiff. Now, Schiff has the right to go out there and say that. But it tells me that either Schumer didn't want to go on record saying that, or Schiff is out there going, I'm going to say it. I don't care what you say. And there is a kind of coup going on in there. Now, you can't say because Schiff is being looked at for lying on an application, and just like the other people lying on an application, right? Attorney General from New York, now Schiff. And I'm not saying it's akin to, but to me, it's like, well, we can't find anything he did, but I did see him spit in the sidewalk. Or I saw him jaywalking. Let's get him in here and ask, have you ever spit on a sidewalk? You ever jaywalked? Think about your answer. Now, if he were to say no, and the 5 people go, I just watched him jaywalk, then he lied to a federal officer. Get you in trouble. Now, he's a smart guy. He's a lawyer. He's a prosecutor. He knows what happens. And when they're going to go ask him, and they will ask him, did you fill out these papers? Okay. No, someone filled them out for me, and I just, okay, went down below when you sign. Now, you're an attorney. Did you read what it said down at the bottom of that page? That you agree that all the statements made are truthful to the best of your knowledge. Did you not know that you lived in California? Well, I didn't see that box was checked. You're a lawyer. You ever deal with real estate, anything like that? You know what the real estate laws are, They're going to jam him up. And to me, it's akin to spitting on the sidewalk or jaywalking. I don't know if I would do that. I don't know if it's worth it to do. But you know what they say, people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. And they should know who they're playing with in their house. They went after Trump. He went after Trump with lies. This isn't a lie. He gave false information on a form, that, says you can't do that. It's a federal form. So he deceived a lender insured by the federal government. Even though for you and I, it might happen all the time. You just go through that, yeah, no, yes, no. How much is your investment worth? I don't know, my 401k, I don't know. $200,000, and it was 140. Well, I don't know. I just threw a number. That's what I thought it was. Well, they ask you those questions, and you agree that everything is accurate to the best of your knowledge. Well, if you don't check, then your knowledge, you can't fall back on that because you didn't do your due diligence. And Schiff's a smart guy. Schiff is a smart guy. And they're going to ask him, the last final question they're going to ask him, were you aware that by signing that this was going to be your primary residence, that you were going to receive a more favorable rate by that. And at some point, the lender was on the application says this is going to be your primary residence. It says yes. All right, he's going to live it. He's not renting it out, so we don't have to worry about, neighbors suing or vandals or it being turned into a crack house. The guy, yeah, right, yeah, he gets 3.8%. That was back in the day. But now he'd get 6.1% instead of 6.6%. Doesn't sound like much. It's, $40 a month, $50 a month, $80 a month, whatever the dollar number is. But did you know that you were going to get a benefit from that? And that at closing, you agree that all the terms that you agreed to are still in fact what they were? Nothing has materially changed. It's routine in closings. Now, I don't know if he closed in person or through the mail or through whatever, but, you're a lawyer. You should know what you're signing. So, Schiff's credibility could be in question, but it has nothing to do with Bove's confirmation. And for him to say that it's corrupt is then say that the whole process was corrupt. He's corrupt, and the courts are now corrupt. That's why I said for a senator to say that, those are big words for a senator. And when you have a councilwoman in Cincinnati who says people should get beat, they had that coming to them. It all ties together. It's all part of the same tentacles. It's the same thinking process. The hive. They release a pheromone and they just blindly follow. And when I say Democrats, I'm not talking the guy next door to me. I'm talking about the Democrats that are in power. When I talk about the Republicans, I don't talk about me. Other than my vote, that's about as far as I can go in a donation. I'm saying the leadership. The Democrats, honestly, have become a hive. There's no thought process behind it. And you see where Republicans veer off and they go, no, not going there. Nope. And they automatically, the media goes, look, the revolt is happening. No, there's no revolt. We're not hive. We're not a hive. You don't emit a pheromone and then we all follow one, protect the hive, kill everyone, sting everyone. And Democrats, that's what you've become. That is what your party is now become. Hive mentality. All right. So he said, despite it being clear he lied to the Judiciary Committee, and despite the danger he poses to the rule of law, the corruption of the bench continues. What corruption of the bench? If he lied, did you prove it to your colleagues? No. And your colleagues is every senator in there. and you want to go, we don't like him because it's Trump's guy. You guys used to love RFK Jr. until it became Trump's guy. And then oh my God, he's the worst thing ever. He doesn't know anything. He's unintelligent. Yeah. Democrats, we have your number. And your number is going to be played in 2026 and 2028. And I said you had until at least August to correct your ways. You ain't correcting your ways. You're doubling down. And you're going to lose. And lose big time. All right, with that, I'm going to say goodnight. Give it to a charity. You know what I always say about charities? You go to the charity. Don't have the charity go to you. Don't be a victim helping victims. Give it to a food bank. If you can't do that, give it to a food bank. And they need clothing. They need toiletries. They need baby things. They need women things. They need men. They need razors. They need these things. And it's without question. I don't care if it's their fault that they were in that situation. Whatever it is, they're in that situation. I'm not going to sit there and judge. Give it to a food bank. Let them dole it out. They're very good at it. Say a prayer. Prayer does work. I'm living proof of it. And with that, I'm going to say good night for my people that will watch my edited show. And I'm only going to put up a couple of subtitles and little things. You'll see me fade to black. To my live audience, you'll see me go to my bars and then my slate. So, all right, with that, I'm going to say good night as I fade to black.